These are waterproof stickers I made at home using AI, my Silhouette Cameo, and Silhouette Studio. I'll show you from start to finish in this super in-depth tutorial how I made these unique stickers, so let's get started. So the AI that I'm using is by Microsoft, and it's their new AI program called CoPilot. As you can see, I'm on the web page here. If you go to copilot.microsoft.com, as you see in this address bar, you can go in there. You will need a Microsoft account, and you can see I have my account here. Microsoft account is free. Actually, I'm using my Hotmail account. That's how I have one. And so I was able to load Microsoft Copilot as their AI program on my PC. So on the main page, it's all cloud-based, and so I'm on a web browser. So on the main page, you'll see that this is what it'll look like, at least for me. And what I used was, in here, you'll see Copilot GPTs, the different functions that it will have, and I used Designer. And then down here in the chat box is where you will tell it what you want it to try to do. And so here's where you will want to tell it what kind of sticker you want to make. And the type of stickers we're going to make are clip art style ones. If you just do images, it'll create a full image, something like this here, or these things that you see up here. But to create something that's more sticker-like that we can use for our purposes, you'll want to type in something like create a clip art sticker of, and since I like cars and I have a Subaru, and I'm a big fan of Subarus, I'll use of a Subaru WRX. Okay, and then you just hit enter. It will think for a little bit. It'll try to create that. It'll let you know what it's doing. And then when it's trying to generate images, you'll see this grid of squares, and it'll try to generate 4 images, at least 4 images. Sometimes it turns out to be 2. And in one case, I've had 1. And you can see now it's already created these kind of random just images of a WRX STI. And so I want one that looks sticker-like, and you can see by saying clip art style sticker of a Subaru WRX, it tends to create it in this kind of a style that looks like a sticker. And so I'm going to pick one that I like, that I can think I can cut out the most easiest, the one that looks also the most sticker-like. And so let's try this one. This is one of the newer style bodies of Subaru WRXs. I like those. I actually have an older one, but you can see that the sticker, if we try to do this, we're not going to have a full sticker. But there's this option here where you can change the size, and it's going to be square as it is now, or you can change it to landscape by clicking landscape there. It'll try to regenerate the image, as you can see it doing, thinking about it. And sometimes it can take a little bit of time, and I've actually had it stall on me before where I had to close out of the application and then just come back in, or it'll generate here, as you can see that it did. And so you can see it created this really cool looking WRX sticker already, and so I like this one. So if it looks good and you like that, go ahead and click looks good. And if this is the one that you want to do, to me this is actually a really good sticker looking kind of image that seems like it'll be traceable and cuttable very easily with the Silhouette Design Studio. So if you like it, go ahead and click here in this 3 dots in the top right of the window and hit download. And then once you do that, it'll think for a second, and then it'll ask you to download and save. Then you can save it as a specific file. I just like to click here and hit save, and then it'll tell you where to put it, and I already have my folder as my download folder. Now, if you also want variations of this one, you see down here in this row, you can see there's a couple different things that you can change the image in a different style, and I accidentally clicked origami. And so it's going to sit for a minute here and rethink and try to recreate this image in a origami-like style. And so just like when it was generating the image originally, it's going to rethink it, and you can see it's got kind of these triangular, angular looking images to it. So it did it in an origami kind of a style here, as you can see. So pretty cool if you want variations of it. Steampunk is always kind of cool. I like doing these just to see what it will try to create off of the one image. And so again, you just click that kind of style. It just basically takes the image that you liked and then adds kind of a theme to it. And then you can also do different themes as you type it in. You can say something like create a clip art sticker of a sports car that is red. So, and so now it came up with a steampunk version of it. So I think So this is super cool, super funky looking. I like it. And so I'm going to go ahead and click looks good. And then I'm going to go ahead and download it to save it to my download folder. So I'm just going to go ahead and save, and boom. So I've got that saved. If I don't like it, I can always go back and then hit back, and it brings you back to your the original 4. But so let's go ahead and try this here. Create a clip art sticker of a sports car that is red. So hit enter. It's going to try to see if it can do that. Now again, sometimes I've had it come up to me and just like not really work, and so I had to try again. As you can see right now, it's kind of stalling on me a little bit, taking its time. And now it's generating or trying to generate something that's a clip art sticker of a red sports car. So it's going to think for a little bit here, so we'll bear with it just for a minute. And boom, here you go. And so because I did a really general clip art sticker of a red sports car and not specifying what kind it is, there's multiple different kinds. So let's go ahead and click here, and then it'll bring it up. Sticker here. And so this looks like it's, if you like the square sized, then this was big enough. But if you do want to make it bigger, again, you can always click the landscape. And then if you do want it to be in a different theme, again, you have your different options of themes here. So we can make it look like in a watercolor style here. And so when you click that, it will start to think and try to generate a new image for you for whatever you asked it to make. And so like, let's try something different here, like create a clip art sticker of a gorilla drinking coffee. And so before I do that, you can see that it recreated the sticker in a watercolor style, and I actually kind of like that one. So I'm going to go ahead and say looks good, and I'm going to save this one. Again, I'm a car fan, so whatever theme niche that you are into or like, go ahead and try to be creative with that and try to generate it. Now, again, you may have to work with it and try to give it different parameters, but let's go ahead and try something like this. Create a clip art sticker of a gorilla drinking coffee. And so, like before, you click it, it's going to try to think about it, as you can see that it's doing, and it's going to try to generate a few images. And so we'll bear with it while it tries to generate some sort of images just based on this very generic kind of descriptor. And so here you can see now we've got some cute little stickers of a gorilla drinking coffee. Totally random, I know, but hey, whatever. You can see that you can pick one, but then here, if you want to do some additional things to it, to add to it, and these are just some suggestions, you can really do what you want. So let's go ahead and ask it to then add a laptop next to the gorilla, and so it's going to think about that just like it did before with the original request. And so it's going to think about that, and now it's going to take the clip art sticker of a gorilla drinking coffee with a laptop next to it, and it's going to try to create that kind of a sticker for you. So I think you're kind of getting the gist here. Really, it seems like your imagination is kind of the limiting factor, but also you got to consider that sometimes this may or may not work, as this program might say it can't create it or for whatever reason. And so here we go. Now it's created a gorilla drinking coffee with a laptop next to it. And so boom, then you can pick a sticker, pick which one you like. You can change the theming of it as far as these things here go, but you can also even say, you can even try to do those things add a laptop next to gorilla and make it look like in a cyberpunk style, something like that, and it'll try to create that. So hopefully you're getting the gist of how you can use this AI program to quickly create different stickers. And if it's close to what you're liking, or if you like it, just save it, or you can kind of try to refine it by giving it some additional texts, like make the gorilla wear glasses, right? Banana peel, or make the gorilla orange. And that way it'll be an orange gorilla drinking coffee with a laptop next to him, or that he's on a laptop. So that is how I was using the AI program provided by Microsoft called Microsoft CoPilot in their designer function to create some stickers really quickly and really easily. So now that you have all of your sticker images designed by AI and downloaded onto your hard drive for use, it's time to go ahead and get set up in Silhouette Studio. And so you can see here I have Silhouette Studio open. I happen to be using Designer Edition, but Basic Edition will work as well. So you can see here the virtual cutting mat is set up, and I have what looks like an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper on here. And so to get set up for this particular project, I will be using 8.5 by 11 inch sticker paper, and I'll have links in the description below for the ones that I'm using. And what you want to do is go to your page setup, which is, I have all of my icons here on this right column. It looks like a piece of paper with a folded tab on the bottom right, and that's your page setup panel. So open up your page setup panel, and then under these three items here, machine, cutting mat, and media size is what we're going to get set up first. And so one, I'm going to make sure that I just set it to audio because I am using a Cameo. I have a Cameo 3. And then my cutting mat, I'll be using a cutting mat for this project, and I'm going to be using their standard 12 by 12. So I want to make sure that I have the 12 by 12, and you can see it's represented here in this kind of gray color on the screen. Again, the media size is going to be an 8.5 inch by 11 inch sticker paper, and so I want to make sure that I select that. And you can see when you do the drop down menu, there's different sizes. If you're using a custom size one, you can go ahead and select custom and then do the dimensions with the height and the width here. Transparency, we're not going to mess with. I'm going to go back here to 8.5 by 11 letter. And so for transparency, we aren't going to mess with. And the orientation, we'll just keep it at portrait for right now. And then as far as rotation, we'll keep it as is by the default. Now here, you do want to show your print border. If I turn it off, the gray line in the sheet goes away. So I'll turn on print border. And what this shows you is basically the parameters of where it will be able to print. So you want to stay within this gray line, and then the cut border is important for later on when we cut them. And then you don't want to make sure, you want to make sure nothing is outside of this, which it wouldn't be because of your print, because your Cameo won't be able to cut that. For print bleed, we're not going to worry about that. Now, because we are going to be printing, I'm going to go ahead here to the registration marks, which we're going to need to add. And so when you click the registration marks sub tab or sub menu in your page setup, you want to make sure that those are on. All right. And so I do like to leave it on default for most of the times, but you can change some of the functions here as far as the size of the registration marks. I generally just like to leave it alone for this purposes here. Default as well, basically it has a square and then these two little dark L's. You can invert it if you wanted to, and basically does it backwards, but I again just like to use the default option here as you see. And so that basically gets you all set up for getting ready to do the sticker printing and cutting later on. So now that you've got all your images generated and downloaded onto your hard drive, let's go ahead and bring them in so that we can start doing the printing and then subsequently the cutting process. And so you can see off to my left here, I have some of the images that I had the AI program generate for me. And you can kind of see that I kind of tried to select images that would be more easily cuttable with an easy shape to generally follow. Now, some of them might be pretty hard to do. If you generate images, something like, I'm going to drag one in here, like this one, which is a whole lot. You notice there's a whole lot in the background. That's going to be hard for your Silhouette to trace this out and then subsequently cut later on, unless you just wanted to have just this whole square as the sticker itself. So you can notice a lot of these things that I have selected as cuttable stickers generally have no background or a solid color, plain solid color background, not like this one, which just has a full scene background behind it. Okay, and so when we make these stickers, what you notice, like I said, each one of these has a background behind it, and it's within a square or a rectangle. And so this is where we want to separate the image that's within its background, the square or rectangle, so that we're only printing and cutting just the image. If I hit print right now on this particular one inside of my sticker paper, it will print this car, but it'll also print a gray square around it. And we don't want that. We want just the car. You can see here, I've already separated the car out from its background. And so how did I do this? Well, we have to do a function called tracing and detach. And so I'll actually just use this car as an example. I'll put it in here right now, make it a little bit bigger so that we can see what's happening here. And so just as a diversion to let you know why we're doing this. So like I said, if we hit print and send this to a printer right now, it will print the car plus this gray background. But also when we go to cut, since we just want to cut the sticker around the car itself, if I try to cut this now, my Silhouette Studio sees the cuttable image, which is this, as just a square. It recognizes this thing as the whole image, and so that's what it will want to cut, a square, when in reality we want to cut just the car. And so if we separate them out, then you can see how now it's recognizing just the car because I've separated it from its background. So that's why we are going to separate the image out of its background. And the way to do that is you go over to your column of functions here. Again, mine is just stacked this way. You may have yours elsewhere, but you want to find your trace panel, which looks like a butterfly as an icon. Once you click there, your trace panel will open up, and then you want to select trace area, and you have a cursor here, but then when you go over here, you'll notice now it's a crosshair. And so you'll click and hold, and then it'll allow you to draw a square or a window over what you want to trace. And we want to trace the car plus the circle, the black circle at least around it. And so I'm going to make sure that my window encompasses it all. And you can see anything that now is in yellow, solid filled in yellow, is what it will try to capture and then detach out of the background. And so ideally, as I found, you want to fill in everything that you want traced and detached from the background in yellow. And so the way to do that is you'll start off with your threshold. You can do the high pass, but generally that typically tends to fill everything up. And then you could also adjust what's the scale. And so the first thing I go for is changing the threshold a little bit. And so as I bring up the threshold, you can see the yellow filling in. Right? But I get to a certain point where now it starts bringing in yellow around the outer edge here. And those are things that I don't necessarily want. And so when I start seeing those outer edges, I start to back off just a little bit here, and see by going down 1%, it dropped out a lot of those little yellow edges a little bit more. If I go down to 78, even more, and that's okay. I think I'm going to be good with that. And you can see the majority of the car is filled in with yellow, and the black circle parts are filled in with yellow. These parts here that aren't filled in, generally they tend to be just pure white, which is why it's not capturing that from my experience. There may be a more technical reason, but just from what I can tell, that's probably why. Okay, so to me, this should capture pretty much this image right here that I've separated out. Now, once you've reached a certain threshold that you're comfortable with, go ahead and hit the Trace and Detach button down here. Your computer will think for a second, and then when it's done, it'll just go back to like normal, and you think nothing has happened. But now if I click in the car, because that's what I want, I can now pull it out, and you can see it detached the car and everything else, but it left behind the gray square and then some other little artifacts here all around the edges here, which to me, they don't affect the image, so I'm okay with that. So if that's the case, I just move out what I want detached off to the side. Then I select my square. I draw a highlight window around where I had done the trace and detach. And then you can notice it captures the square, but it captures a lot of those little yellow dots that were all around the edge here that you really can't even see. And that's why we don't want too many of those, because then you don't want everything filling up that way. So then you can just delete that out and hit delete, and boom. Now you have basically a sticker, the image itself detached out of its background. And so when I go to cut this later, so I'll go into our send function and to the cut function here, you can see the red outline, which is where your blade will actually cut, is now tracing or wants to cut around the actual image, and that won't recognize a square because you've gotten rid of that square. And so that's why we want to do a trace and detach. But again, if you want to print a sticker like this with just a square and hand out or have square or rectangular stickers, that's totally fine. But for the purposes of this project, we are doing it like this. Okay, and so that is a fairly simple one here that worked out really well, really easily. This one here, let's work with this one here, because I have found this one's a little more tricky, simply because it's a little bit more busy. All right, so I'm going to make it bigger just so that we all can see it a little bit better here. Move this guy out of the way. And so again, this does have a square, and oh look, when I put it on my paper, because it's on a white background square, it looks like it's good to go. And if you printed it like this, like no kidding, it would print this because of a white background. It wouldn't reprint white. It would just not print that. But if you wanted to cut around these edges here, if you go to the send, what Silhouette Studio is going to recognize as an image is actually the square, right? And it recognizes this thing as a whole, not just this particular piece in it. This is the entire image, and so that's the edge of the image as your program sees it, and that's what it wants to cut. So like before, we want to trace and detach this colored image out of its white background in this case. So I'm gonna make this just a little bit smaller, and here we go. Okay, so same thing, you want to go to your trace panel, select it so that it opens up, hit select trace area, and then draw your window around the colored area. And you can see, like I said, this one's a little bit more tricky in that it only captured the majority of the inside of the image here. And so again, we're going to start messing with our thresholds. I'm going to bring it up, and then if you go all the way, you see, notice it fills in basically the whole thing. We don't want that, so you start backing it down, and you can see I'm at 99% right now, and I've captured practically everything save for a few things inside the middle here that it might not affect the image. Again, they tend to just be pure white from my experience, and that's why it's not capturing that. Now you notice there's a lot, if I zoom in a little bit here, you notice on the edges here there's a lot of those little white dots here, and you can probably leave that alone, and then when you detach it and then get rid of everything, you'll just have a million billion little white dots to do that. But what you can do to maybe reduce some of that is adjust your despeckle threshold first, and I start to mess with that and see if it does anything. And some of this, guys, it is going to be trial and error. And as you move your functions around, give it a few seconds, because depending on how powerful your computer is, it may actually take a little bit of time for your computer to make any adjustments. And so based on this, it looks like it might have taken out a little bit, but it's still pretty much the same as it was before. I've got a lot of little white dots, maybe not as much as I did a minute ago. Bump it up to 90, give it a little bit to see if anything happens, and nothing. And so really that didn't do too much for me. So the next thing that I like to try to do is go to scale, and the way I like to see this from what I have seen it doing is see all these little white dots. Basically, with a scale of 10, the smaller the number on your scale, the smaller the dot, and the bigger the number, sort of the bigger the dot, but it just makes it less fine, if you will. And so I'll show you what I mean by that here in a second. So taking a look at all these smaller dots, if I start increasing my scale, and this is one that takes my computer a little bit more time, you can see that some of the dots that were floating on their own are now kind of connected like this. And so you hopefully you saw that change. See these individual dots here. If I start bumping up my scale, they start to kind of blend together, and so all these dots, they kind of get bigger from what I can tell, and they start to blend a little bit better together. And so you can see here all those fine little dots are essentially gone. And so adjusting your scale can help eliminate some of those little dots. And so let's just go with this for right now. So I'll go back to regular scale size here, and then I'm going to hit trace and detach. Boom. Again, your computer will think for a second, looks like it did nothing, and then I'm going to move it out of the way. And then I'm going to highlight inside where I had that, and you can see there's the background, there's the square background that it took it from. So I'm going to highlight everything inside here, and I'm going to go ahead and delete it. And so now we have our image that was separated. Now that one was a little bit more complicated because, as you saw, it started off with a little bit less, and you had to fill it in a bit more. And so now that you know how to trace and attach, basically what you want to do is you want to do that for all of your stickers or all of the images that you want to do, so that you can get it ready for printing and then subsequently cutting. Okay, so now we have all of our images traced and attached, as you can see here, and all I did was just arrange them onto my virtual sticker paper in kind of an evenly spaced, evenly lined up area, and that's just to leave a little bit of space for creating borders around each of these items. We can go ahead and send this to print as is, and it'll print exactly this, but I want to do a couple steps to make sure that we are ready for the next step after printing, which will then be cutting. And so right now I just want to show you if you sent this after you printed this and then you load it to your actual cutting mat and sent it to your Cameo, the way it will cut, if I go to send here, and notice that all of the images are outlined in red. And let me zoom in just a little bit. So right now, your Cameo is seeing each of these images, and the red line is exactly where it is going to cut. And if you want your stickers to have no white border around it, that's perfectly fine. You're good to go, and you can just print it and then subsequently send this to cut as is. But I do know that for stickers, a lot of times people like to have a thin white border, which would just be your sticker paper around here. And so you have to tell your Cameo to cut just a little bit further out than what it is seeing now, which is right along the edge of the actual sticker. And so the way that we will have to do that is to create an offset. And the way we create an offset, and I'll use this car as the example for now, and let me zoom in, scroll up, okay, is you select your item, and then look up here in your different functions and look for the star, and that is your offset select shapes menu. If you click it once, it will automatically bump an offset around your image. And notice that now I have a separate red line around my actual image. And what it did was just create an offset as it implies. And then you can tell your Cameo then to cut this offset instead of here. And I'll show you how to do that in just a little bit. But if you notice, the offset from the image to there, it's kind of thick, and that's how much sticker paper will be around your image when you tell your Cameo to cut along this line right here. And so if you want it to be a little bit thinner, then you would have to adjust it. So you can finitely or more finely adjust it by clicking here, or you can just, if you know a distance that you want, you can just type it in. So for example, 0.0, let's just go 3. And so now you'll have a really thin white line, because that's where your Cameo will cut, and it'll create a thin white line of sticker paper around your sticker, which looks like a border. I like to be around 0.08. I found that this makes a nice little white sticker border around that. Now, as a hack, and just so you know, do your adjustments first before clicking out anywhere else, because if once you do, I just clicked out on here somewhere, it grays out your offset menu, and you're like, oh no, I didn't want 0.8, I wanted 0.06. Even if you select the offset shape, your offset menu will highlight again, but it won't give you the option to change the offset anymore. It is now set. All you can do is add an internal offset, which will put an offset inside the offset, which you can't really see here because it's too far in. Let me undo that. Or create another offset, which makes an offset outside of your original offset, and we don't want to do that as well. And so make sure that you adjust the distance of your offset from your image before you click out anywhere else. So that's just kind of a hack there. So I'm going to delete that offset for now. Now let's just say that you want to put an offset around all of your images, and you already know what that is. Like I said, I like 0.8, so you can select all your images by highlighting with a draw a highlight window around it, or press Control A for Windows users, and I think it's Command A for Mac users, and then hit your offset button. And this may take a few seconds depending on your computer, and it will automatically put an offset all around each of your images, all at the same distance. And so since I like 0.08, before I click out anywhere else, I'm going to adjust my offset distance to 0.08, and boom, hit enter. It'll think a little bit, and then you notice that my border around it shrank. And so now I'm going to click out. And so what will happen is when my silhouette cuts, it's going to cut along this line here. And then that means when I peel the sticker, it'll have this amount of sticker around my actual image, which creates that white border, that sticker look. So when we take a look at this in the send function, you'll notice that, oh, hold on a second. Every red line here is what my Cameo will cut. And so since we only want this outer edge to be cut and not the inner edge to be cut, we have to delineate these two different lines here. Otherwise, it's going to cut both of your lines. And so the way we do that, and this is just a hack that I'll show you that I've discovered over time, is so for each of your offsets, let me make sure I'm grabbing the offset. Yep. And this is one that you would want to do before you or after you immediately adjust all of your offsets. So I'm just backing out. Okay, so I just undid until I got back to where I had no offsets. So I'm going to go ahead and do my offset. I'm going to hit that, boom. It's going to think a second, it's going to create my offset. I'm going to change to the distance I want. 0.08 is what I want my offset to be off of each of my images. And then now, while everything is still selected, go up to, I have it in the top left. You want to go to your, this basically it's like the line color. And you'll want to change that color to something else. I'll just use purple because it's handy and it's right there. So now the offset lines are all purple that I did. So click off of that. And now when I go to send this later on for cutting, right, it still looks the same in the simple mode. Notice there's several tabs here in the simple mode. Now, if I click the tab that says line, what it'll do is it'll look for any kind of lines with colors on it. And so since we specifically put a border, an offset around each of our images, and we colored it purple, I can now look. You can see it has an option to select any line that's colored purple. Red is just the default. I didn't specify red. It's just the default. So red does not show up. So, but it will not cut that because you're going to say specifically, I want either it to cut with no color, which means it's going to cut immediately on the edge of each image, which was originally red. And again, because we're selecting by line color, it doesn't show up as red. Or we can select by purple. And so now when we tell it to cut, it's only going to cut the purple line, which is that purple border that we put around each of our stickers. And so that is how you would be able to tell your Cameo to cut the outer border and not just not the image right along the edge there. Now, just so you're aware, the purple line or whatever color line you put around your border, it's not going to print a purple line around there. The only thing when you send this image, this file to your printer, not your Cameo, your printer, it will print just the images, and then the white will just be white. It won't print anything there. It'll just print the images. It will not print these lines that we are generating around. These are specifically lines for cutting that your Cameo will use to cut your image. Okay, and so now we are ready to print and send all of this to your printer. And again, we're sending this to your printer at this point, not your Cameo, because we do have to print out these images. And to do that, go ahead and I like to go to File and then go to Print. If you're a Windows user, you can click Control and P. If you're a Mac user, I believe it's Command and P. And it should bring up this print preview screen. Go ahead and scroll and look. You can see that it's going to print just the images and not the offset line that we had put around it. And once you are satisfied this is good, go ahead and hit print and it'll bring your print windows. Now, if mine for whatever reason does this, it brings up two. This one I just closed, and then this one here is what I go into, and you can see I have my printer selected, so make sure that your printer is selected. And before I actually print, I will go into preferences and make sure that my printer settings are ready to go. And yours may be slightly different with the different options, but for mine, I will leave these additional features alone as far as borderless, black and white, and color. I'll leave those unchecked. I do keep mine as a preview before printing as one last check before I hit it and print the actual images. And then for the media type, we're going to select glossy photo paper. Now again, yours might have different options, but for mine, I go to photo papers because I do have that option, and it brings up another menu with multiple different kinds. And I'm just going to use regular glossy photo paper, which I found has worked for me. Select that one, and in print quality, I have it on high, but you can do standard if you want to. I haven't really noticed too much, or actually really haven't noticed much difference at all. At least for these. Maybe if you're printing photos, you might notice a difference between high and standard. And then for your printer paper size, make sure that you're using 8.5 by 11 because for this project, that's what we're using, unless you are using a different size. Just make sure that you select the correct size. And if I click it, you'll see there's a ton of different sizes that can be selected for that one. And again, 8.5 by 11 is this. And then we're going to click portrait for our orientation, which it should be by default. And then whatever your paper source is, make sure that that is what will be. And for this, we're just going to do one copy. So I just have one selected. And once you have all of your settings ready to go, you can hit OK. Or if you want to do this in the future, you can go ahead and hit save, and then you'll name it and it'll create a preset for you and save that for you for next time. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. It brings us back to this menu here, and then I'm going to go ahead and print. And again, because I do have mine set to another print preview, it's sending this image right here now to my printer. And so my printer is going to recognize it, and it's going to generate a print preview. And again, you can see that it's going to print just the images without the offset lines around it. These are the registration marks here on the top left, top right, and the bottom left corner. And again, this kind of gives you a summary of those settings that we had set up here. And then once you are fully satisfied, this is ready to go. Go ahead and click your Start Printing if you have elected this. If not, your printer should already be printing. So here are my stickers that are printed off of my printer. As you can see, again, there is no line printed around, it is just the images. And so now that we have this ready to go, it's time to get the laminate on. One thing that I like to try to do sometimes before putting on this laminate, because I don't have a roller, is to just take a piece of tape or two, kind of roll it like this, so it's essentially a double-sided sticky tape, and then I put it just somewhere underneath, and that will help it from, or stop it from moving around as you're trying to apply the laminate. So I like to do at least 2 pieces, but not too many, because you don't want to peel that much off after the fact. So this will be my second piece here, and I'm just going to go ahead and lift this up and stick it on. And I'm using masking tape because it's easily removable, and it peels off fairly easily. All right, so now let's add our laminate paper here, or our laminate to it. And this is just a sheet of laminate that I have. Again, links will be in the description. This one is a 9x12, so you can see it's taller than the actual paper, and it's also wider than the paper, so it gives you a little bit of leeway to cover up the whole thing. The other thing you'll need to have ready is some sort of a squeegee. As you see, I have one here with just a felt buffer on it. Now, one hack or trick that I like to do is I will peel back some of the backing paper off of the laminate, and I typically start at what would be at the top. Just do whatever's comfortable for you. Fold that paper back, and then position it so that you know that you're going to get fully covered. So I have a little bit on the left and right, and I have it over the top, and so I'm going to go ahead and put that there, and I'm going to squeegee it down and kind of lock it down. You can notice I've taped it onto my surface as well, and I basically created a hinge in a sense. All right, so now that I have that, I can pick up my paper, and I'm peeling it back this way. I'm just going to hold it, and then I'm going to start squeegeeing it down. And I want to make sure that I squeegee it down nice and firmly so that I don't get bubbles or wrinkles in where my stickers actually are. And then you can actually peel the whole thing if you want to, or peel as you go. Just try not to put your fingers underneath where the actual sticker or the laminate goes over the sticker, so you don't get fingerprints trapped under there. And I'm just working my way down, slowly and gently dropping the laminate as I make my way down. There we go. Okay, now once you have it down, I like to go over it again a couple times really firmly. Make sure that laminate is on really tight and sealed in very well. And that way you make sure that you have a good seal over your sticker, your printed vinyl sticker. That helps make this waterproof, if not very, very water resistant. Okay, and so the next step will be you take this off of here, pick it up, peel this off, and then if you get a pair of scissors, just trim off this excess laminate. First, let's take off the pieces of tape, just so that when we try to get onto our cutting mat next, it's not going to stick super hard. And then just trim off the excess of the laminate here, just like so. And I like to do all 4 sides. You could leave this on, but I found out the hard way, because I forgot to the first time I tried this. I just left those excess laminate over the edges on my sheet and put it on my cutting mat, and with the stickiness of the cutting mat and the stickiness of the laminate, it made for a really interesting time trying to reposition it onto my cutting mat. So trim off the excess so you don't have any exposed laminate that could grab onto your cutting mat inadvertently. So now let's get this onto our cutting mat. As you can see, I have mine here. And then you want to place your sticker paper on the same orientation as your virtual cutting mat in Silhouette Studio. So basically the top left corner. And so just align the top edge and the side edge, and it should be fairly straight and level as best as you can. And again, we've taken off the tape on the back and the excess laminate, so you can pick this up fairly reasonably if you need to again. And then just tack it down somewhat lightly. You don't have to go too crazy on there, just enough that it will stick onto your cutting mat without any issues. Alright, so next is to go ahead and get this loaded up into your Silhouette Cameo, and then we'll send it to cut after that. Okay, so now that you have your paper on your physical cutting mat and ready to go and loaded into your Cameo, let's go ahead and hit it send so we can get it cut out. And if you notice, let me get this back to how it would typically show up. It may show up, or should show up, like this on your screen, and you'll notice that each image has 2 red lines around it, and each red line is what your Cameo would cut right now if you went ahead and sent it. But the reason why we put that purple line around our images, or the colored line around our images, is to, if you notice here, I have different options here, and if I hit line, I can select it by the color of the line now. And you'll notice now I have 2 items here. Before I didn't have anything here except for one. Click in line. Now I have 2 items, one that's purple and one with no color, and the no color is essentially the default of where it would be originally, where it would cut typically. Here if I select it, you see it's black now, but it was red earlier, and it's going to cut right on the edge of each image. But since we want a little bit of space to have a little bit of white sticker paper around, we're going to cut just a little bit away from the image, and so we select this purple one here, and that's what it will cut. It will not cut the second line right along the edge of each image. And so now down here in the center section, you'll notice that it has the purple selected, and then right here under material, you'll have to pick one. Start off with something default like vinyl sticker paper, and then you're going to have to go ahead and add a couple of tweaks to it to make sure that it fits, because it's not just sticker paper, it's sticker paper that we are cutting that has laminate on it as well. And so you're going to have to do a couple of tests to see what will work for your machine and the materials, the paper and the laminate that you're using. And so you can use mine as a start if you want. And so I'm using a vinyl sticker paper with a laminate on top, and I want to cut all the way through, meaning cuts through the laminate, the paper, and the vinyl sticker paper backing, so that when I peel this off of the physical cutting mat, it leaves each of the stickers behind, because I want individual little stickers to be able to hand out instead of a sheet of stickers. And so for that, I have my blade depth at 5, my force at 33, which is the most that mine will go, and a speed of 5. Under action, make sure you have it selected to cut. And then under your tool, I'm using my auto blade, so make sure you're using whatever is appropriate for whatever it is you're using. Most will probably be just using the auto blade. And so once you have that all set and ready to go, you've done a couple tests so you know what will cut through the laminate, the sticker paper, and the backing on your blade depth, force, and speed, and I'm only doing one pass for this. You would go ahead and hit send, and what will happen is your Cameo will start to go ahead and start registering the black marks up here, down here, and up to your top right, which it will then use to get a bearing as far as where it is relative to the sticker paper, so that it can cut each of these accurately. So with all that said, let's go ahead and hit send. And right now it is registering bottom left. It already registered the top right square. Now it's going to go up to the top left square, that one. Now it's registering that top right inverted L. And then next it's going to go ahead and set its blade depth accordingly. Again, I'm using my auto blade, and so you can see that it's getting the blade set. Once it's all ready to go, it will go ahead and start to do the cutting around each of the images. Alright, so here we have my machine has finished cutting it, and now, like I said, I set it to cut all the way through the laminate, the vinyl sticker sheet itself, and the backing paper as well. And so as I start to peel this off, you'll see that I'm able to peel away just the excess, or basically I'm weeding out the excess paper from it now, and now I have individual stickers. And then what I like to use is this little tool here. It's a little squeegee that has it's a harder plastic. It's kind of got a wedge shape on one edge of it and a little point here. Now you can just try to peel these off just like this, and that'll be just fine as well. It comes off fairly easily, especially if your mat is a little bit used and not brand spanking new, but sometimes it's easier to just use this to help you. If they are stuck on pretty good like this guy is, you can use that corner tip to kind of dig up underneath, and then I just like to get an edge up and then peel the rest of it off just like that. And so I'm just going to do the same thing here, just like this. And you can take off all your stickers either just by peeling it like I showed you earlier, or using a little tool like this. And again, I'll have links in the description for all the different things being used in this project. And alright guys, that's it for the video. Hopefully I've shown you how you can use AI to create and generate some pretty cool and unique stickers for yourself, for your friends, your family, what have you, or maybe even to sell, and that you can do it at home on your home computer as long as you have a good internet connection, and then a printer, your Silhouette Cameo and Silhouette Design Studio, and a couple other supplies which I've posted links in the description for. If you did like this video guys, please be sure to hit that thumbs up button as well as the subscribe button if you haven't already. I've got more videos in the works and on the way that I'd love to share with you guys. Thanks again for watching and have a great day.